Welcome back to Sweet Science Boxing and MMA here in Hawthorne, California. As always, I'm Chris, your boxing enthusiast, and with me is Coach Marco Trejo. What's going on, Coach?
What up, Chris?
Welcome back.
Yeah, I just got back from the museum. I was telling you about it.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was cool. It was a King Tut exhibit at the California Science Center. So
Worth a look? You recommend it?
Yeah, man, it was awesome, dude. I mean, to see, like, I was looking for 3,000-year-old boxing gloves or some kind of representation of.
Did you find any?
No, I was thinking maybe King Tut was like a boxing fan, but I didn't see anything.
Didn't see anything there?
No, but I mean, it was still pretty interesting.
Boxing's got to be up there in terms of the oldest sport.
Yeah, I imagine throwing hands goes way back,
It's
right?
got to go all the way back to the
Yeah.
beginning of time.
Well, at the Getty Villa in Malibu, which is
I've never been to that one. But yeah.
it's a museum, and
Yeah.
it's kind of modeled after an Italian villa, I think.
Sure.
Or yeah, and there is a mosaic that's about 2,000 years old where it shows two guys with they don't have boxing gloves on. They have what is, I guess, interpreted as leather.
Okay.
Wrapped over their hands.
They got some hand wraps.
Yeah. And it's a 2,000-year-old mosaic. It shows one guy with his eye bleeding and the other guy's, like getting ready to punch him. So, I mean, yeah, it goes back at least 2,000 years. I'm pretty sure it goes back, like.
There's a documentary in this somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was thinking about
Well, why don't we put one together? We'll do the history of boxing, taking it all the way back.
No, well, I was thinking that because I'm studying, like, archaeology in school. And anthropology, archaeology.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, it would be dope to do the history of fighting, of fisticuffs too.
I love that term.
Fisticuffs.
Yeah,
I don't know what it means.
It's a great term. It's so classy for what it
Yeah.
is. You know what I mean? No, definitely.
Yeah, I mean
That could be the name of the documentary.
Yeah, fisticuffs.
Fisticuffs. Netflix is always looking for new content. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure we can make this happen.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, I could travel because I've been to Pakistan, I've been to
Italy, right?
Italy. It was in parts of Turkey and Azerbaijan, and those are all ancient cultures. And also, you gotta admit, like, if I could get to Iran in Iran they had that was the capital of the Persian Empire, which dates back like 2,500, 2,600 years. I'm pretty sure there's some carvings or something of people boxing.
There's something documentary worthy, boxing related there.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to imagine there's, so wrestling goes back to the Greeks and they've been around for a long time.
Sure.
And boxing is just, I don't want to say the simplest form of fighting, but it's probably the most basic and then the most, I guess most natural, You've got fists and you got arms. You even if you're flailing about, that's fighting, But
you don't have to do it good. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, I imagine 2,000, 3,000 years ago, two guys started beating the hell out of each other, and then some people just started sitting around, or they're like, "Hey, let's
throw them in a pit."
Yeah, let's watch this.
Let's
All
throw
right.
them in a pit
You're
and
like,
watch them do it again.
Hold on, guys. I gotta get a crowd in here, and then the crowd comes in. Okay, now you can go. But that'd be great. Anyways.
Yeah, there's a museum exhibit or a documentary or something in there. I'm sure of it.
I've been looking, and I haven't seen anything that goes that far back.
That's what I mean. Like there's a story to be told still.
Yeah. No, there's good. There's definitely a bunch of boxing documentaries and movies. I learned about it 2 years ago. There's a place called Rafael Trejo Boxing Gym in Cuba, which is the oldest boxing gym in Cuba. And sometimes I like to say that
You're related.
I'm related to him. But
you're not Cuban, are you?
You never know. I don't know.
You could be. We could get the DNA test.
I mean, like the most southern part of Mexico is really close to Cuba, so
Gotcha.
you never know.
Yeah, so
It's in my blood.
yeah, they have ways to do that now. You just swab your mouth and send it in, and they'll come back and tell you where you came from.
Yeah. Oh man, there's a whole thing on that. I don't want to get into it, but
You don't want to get into it.
yeah, I mean, you could find out you're something you never thought.
Yeah, I think my dad did that, and it turns
Really?
out that we originated in Ethiopia,
Oh, I can see
something
that.
like that.
That's why you're so skinny. Just kidding.
It's not all the hard work. That's all the hard work I put in this gym.
There you go.
That's how I keep it that way.
It's not genetics. The physique is not genetics.
Definitely not. This is 25 pounds of gym work.
There you go.
Not too bad. And speaking of boxing, a little bit of boxing in the last couple of weeks. We didn't have a show last week, so we got 2 weeks worth of fights and stuff to catch up on. But there's been a lot of middleweight action. A lot of action in the middleweight division. So last week, Demetrius Andrade fought for a vacant title. That's the one that Billy Joe Saunders had to vacate.
Yeah.
This week, Danny Jacobs fought the mandatory Sergey Derevianchenko. I have a hard time saying it quickly. Yeah, thank you. I have a hard time saying it quickly. I don't want to do it. So they fought last night. And then, of course, Canelo, in the meantime, signed a deal with DAZN for 11 fights over a period of 5 years, $365 million guarantee. So $365 million minimum. So a lot of action here in middleweight.
Well, you know what I found funniest about the Canelo signing was that Oscar, being the promoter that he is, used that opportunity to kind of take a swipe at Mayweather. You know, saying, "Oh, look who's the richest man in boxing now."
Funny.
You know?
Well, he would be wrong. No, I'm just. You know why I say that? Because it's funny because they got into that exchange on Twitter or whatever where they were going back and forth. Did you see any of that?
I saw some with Ellerby and De La Hoya, but not with Mayweather.
Ellerby and De La Hoya got into it, and Mayweather and De La Hoya got into it, and you know, Mayweather started posting the old photos of De La Hoya.
Oh, and the fishnets.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I hate to see that, man. Oscar was such a big figure.
Yeah, so Mayweather was reposting that and telling people to caption it, and they were going back and forth. But ultimately, what Mayweather said was that he said that his Canelo fight was easier than McGregor, and then he said that he makes $300 million in one fight, and it takes a 5-year, 11-fight contract in order for Canelo to make $365 million.
Whatever.
Which is pretty close to accurate.
Yeah.
If Mayweather came out of retirement to fight, or what was it? They were talking about him fighting Khabib.
But
if he fought Khabib, he would make $300 million.
But who wants to watch that? You know who's going to watch that? Uninformed MMA fans who think like he's got a shot.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the point. The point is that he's still the money man.
It boggles the mind
in the
how
sense that
and
he'll
why.
still make $300 million.
But how and why? Do people want to pay, and how does he make that much money? It's like he's not that interesting to me, and his fights were never,
exciting.
Never. I mean, some were exciting, yeah, because.
But that was more at the 135, like at the lower weight classes.
Yeah, but you look at his last fight against Berto. Did anybody give a crap about that? Nobody.
It still did well though. That's what I mean. It still made him a bunch of money.
Yeah, but how?
I firmly believe.
Where's that money come from?
I believe it comes from people who are paying to see him lose just as much as they're paying to see him win.
Oh man.
Meaning, I actually think that like when you look at Muhammad Ali, who I guess fashioned some of this from like the Gorgeous George, that Ric Flair type personality. You know what I mean? Your Mayweathers, they're actually sort of perceived as the bad guy, and whether someone pays to watch you lose or pays to watch you win, they still pay to watch you. So it's like you're actually drawing twice as many people because just as many people tune in to watch you get knocked out.
Yeah, but I don't think Muhammad was ever as. I know he was a controversial figure in some way because he opposed.
In many ways, yeah.
Yeah, he opposed.
He was an activist.
Yeah, he was an activist. He opposed the war. He had his views on kind of social justice.
Yeah.
But I think he was more beloved than Mayweather, and when he was active.
Perhaps, but I mean, still, there was some his activism, his religion.
Yeah, it definitely turned a lot.
Were very
off.
Unpopular opinions at the time.
Yeah,
right. So,
well, I don't know. I mean, I definitely appreciate Mayweather's skill set. I mean, he's a slippery little bugger in there. It's hard to catch him. His defense is amazing, but he doesn't. For me, he didn't really force the fight where he's like, hey, I'm going to knock this guy out. He didn't really, because he didn't have to. He relied on his defense, his counterpunching, and his movement in the ring. And, nobody ever trapped him enough where where he was forced to really fight out of it. But even so, he lacked some aggression, I think. So that's one reason. But
that's not entirely his fault, though.
No, that's what I said.
Like your opponent has to have
exactly.
a good game plan.
It was never, I mean, he didn't have to. It wasn't forced out of him,
Yeah.
So that's, you could say what you want about that, but just his whole attitude. I mean, for him to call out Oscar, I mean, he's retired, dude. Like, stay retired. Like, boxing's way better without you. Stay retired. And the only fights he's talking about, which are, to me, it's not that they do damage to boxing, but they're pointless fights. He wants to fight Pacquiao, and all he talks about is he's gonna make 10 figures. Okay, what does that have to do with you being challenged in the ring? What does that have to do with Manny Pacquiao posing a threat to actually beating you? Nothing, Or I'm gonna fight Khabib, dude. Let Khabib just beat McGregor. Like, let him enjoy that. And then dude, he's not a professional boxer. And now you're going to be 52-0 and you're greatest. Man, shut the hell up, dude.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, in many ways, not just with Floyd, but in many ways, business impacts competition negatively for fans, perhaps positively for fighters. Like, so for instance, if Khabib can go and make hundreds of millions of dollars, and so can Mayweather, right? Then okay, good for them, right? Like I don't blame Khabib, for instance, for saying, hey, I want to go take this fight and make a couple $100 million.
Oh, for sure.
So good for them. But the business, a lot, especially recently, and I'm sure you can find historical examples of it, but the business side impacts the competitiveness from a fan standpoint. It's the reason why fights like Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder take a long time. It's the reason why you don't get Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr.
Yeah.
It's the reason why a lot of these things come out. The business of boxing isn't always great for fans, but it could be great for fighters. Like the PBC fighters, who all make plenty of money.
Yeah.
It's good for them. They're getting paid a lot by Al Heyman, right? Only they don't fight each other. All the welterweights, for instance, they don't fight each other, so we don't get to see it. But they're being very successful right now. So it's kind of like the business aspect of it can be disappointing.
Yeah, some of those big money fights are very anticlimactic, and it's the fights leading up to those. It's kind of like the elimination bouts to get to that title fight or to that big money fight. Sometimes those are the most exciting fights, But back on Mayweather, and good for Canelo. I thought it was interesting that De La Hoya brought it up, and then they started talking. It seems like he's trying to draw Mayweather into a rematch.
Canelo rematch on DAZN.
And I could totally see that happening. And they're both gonna make a lot of money. And I
don't see it.
I think it will happen. Because you're saying business dictates a lot of it. I mean, think what bigger fight would there be than Canelo versus Mayweather out of retirement?
Yeah, I can't say that there would be a bigger one.
Yeah. And Mayweather's not going to turn down a couple $100 million for that. No way.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, but there's so many challenges. What weight would it take place at? The fact that Mayweather is loyal to Al Heyman and Showtime, and now
like at 55, I think 54.
At 54.
Yeah.
I think at this point he's just gone up to 168. So it's kind of like, I think DAZN has done the right thing. So in terms of business, DAZN has tried to lock up all the middleweight belts.
Yeah.
If you notice that, like what they're doing is they're like, hey, we're gonna go after all the middleweight champions. That way, if you want a belt, you have to fight on DAZN.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I heard them say that.
Yeah, so like Eddie Hearn was basically saying, this is our strategy. We want to go through the divisions that, like the middleweight, super middleweight, those, and find all the belt holders and get them to sign with DAZN. And they're going to do that. Like, they're going to have Danny Jacobs, Demetrius Andrade. They're going to have Canelo now on DAZN. So if you want to be a middleweight champion, you got to fight on DAZN.
Yeah.
So the more they can do that, the better. And they have all the cruiserweight belts because they have Alexander Usyk. So I think that's a really smart strategy, and it'll make for a lot of good fights in the future.
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty promising with once they announced that they got that deal, right? Was it with Matchroom? where they got the $1 billion, and then
Yes.
it took them a little bit, like 2 months, but then once they got going, man, they're spending money left and right, and
They've got a lot of money to spend.
yeah, I hope they still got more, because I mean, I got some fighters in here. I want
You want to get on? You want some of that Matchroom, some of that DAZN money?
Yeah, I mean, God, I imagine like all the gyms in America, all over the world are. I mean, it's extra motivation, you know, especially if you got some good fighters, some up and comers. Like I said, they just signed Diego Pacheco. He's from Southern California. He's one of the best amateurs in the world. Kid's only 17. Heard he got signed for nice chunk of change, or at least something deserving.
Good for him.
Yeah, exactly. So, for all these young kids that are like number one in the country, man, it's a good time to be in boxing.
Yeah, I think Danny Jacobs versus Sergey Derevyanchenko took place on HBO, but Danny Jacobs.
The last one, yeah.
Well, they're actually doing Dimitri Bivol next month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're going to do Dimitri Bivol versus the Canadian.
Okay.
Dude.
Is that the last one?
I've heard that there's rumored to be possibly one more in December.
Ooh.
One more in December. So basically no more in 2019.
Okay.
But there will definitely be one in November, possibly one more in December.
Oh, man,
They didn't mention it at all on the broadcast,
really?
by the way.
Oh,
Not
really?
that I heard. I listened to the broadcast to see if anyone would comment on it, but they didn't comment on it.
Even though HBO announced they'd be done with boxing, something makes me think like it's got to be really easy for them to put on some fights. Maybe later on they used to have what was it called, Boxing After Dark?
Yeah, boxing. Bob Papa,
which
right?
was a lot of the prospects, right? The contenders. I mean, I could see them still doing that in the future. They don't put a lot of money into it, but I mean, they've got the crew, they got the experience. Why not?
So it's like Showtime has that next generation where it's kind of the up and coming prospect. Jean Pascal is the person. Bivol is going to fight Jean Pascal.
Oh, that'd be a good fight.
Yeah, in November.
That'd be a good test. Bivol's strong. Pascal's got a good experience.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that'll happen in November, and then I've heard that they potentially might do one more in December to finish out 2019. But I'm not sure who would be on that card yet.
All right.
But that should be interesting. So he fought last night, and Sergey Derevyanchenko, he ended up with so this is if you remember, when Canelo was suspended, this was Triple G's mandatory, Sergey Derevyanchenko, and he passed on him and fought Vanis Martirosyan instead, and as a result, he had to drop the belt. And so this is an IBF vacant IBF belt fight that they did. Billy Joe Saunders had to vacate a belt, so Demetrius Andrade fought for that belt last week. So there were two belts up for grabs here. So Daniel Jacobs fought for the IBF belt. These two were sparring partners.
Wow.
Danny Jacobs said that they sparred over 300 rounds together.
That is a lot.
It's a lot of rounds, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know the person pretty well. I mean, after 36 rounds, you know him really well.
Yeah, exactly.
After 12, I mean, 'cause, it's crazy when you spar, you get better the second time usually because you make adjustments.
Yeah.
Well, the other guy makes adjustments too, but you just get better and better and better. Kind of, like Pacquiao and Marquez,
Yeah, exactly.
So
it was like
that's interesting.
The thing that's interesting is it was a majority decision win. So Julie Letterman, I think, had the fight in favor of Sergey. The other two judges had it for Danny Jacobs, so he won by majority decision. Super competitive fight. There were definitely rounds that were challenging and hard to score because Sergey was much more active, and Danny Jacobs was landing cleaner punches but wasn't as active throughout the round. So some challenging rounds to score for sure. So a lot of people were very critical of Danny Jacobs afterwards and said, hey, if you can't handle Sergey, then it doesn't look like you would do well against like Charlo, Canelo, and these other guys. Some people said that I read saying that Danny Jacobs sort of fights to the level of competition, which is why he can compete against Triple G and then struggle with a guy like Sergey. But I tend to think of it as, doesn't the fact that they know each other so well kind of play into it a little bit?
Heck yeah.
Right? Like they're so familiar with each other that why would they spar together so much if it wasn't competitive between them, right? Like you don't need to spar a guy 300 times if you're just tuning him up every single time that you spar.
Might as well just hit the bag.
Yeah, exactly. Like, obviously, they brought him back because they thought he was competitive with Danny.
Yeah.
So I think I didn't expect for it to be not competitive, but it sounds like some other people did.
Well, it's hard to do new things or be surprising with somebody who's seen you for 300 rounds.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it's a close fight, then that's in large part due to them actually sparring so much and knowing each other so well.
I would think so, right?
So, yeah, I mean,
it has to have some. You should take into account before you critique Danny Jacobs' performance. I think you should take into account that he was at least good enough that he was continuously brought back as a sparring partner, and I'm sure that the sparring sessions were competitive.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I know we've said it before, and it's not really that valid of an argument, but those people probably critiquing him never took a punch in their lives.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Don't get me started on that track.
Yeah, again. I know. That's why I said it.
Don't get me started on that again.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that when you evaluate it, you should consider that if he was good enough to be brought back for that many rounds,
and a lot of people won't.
You should expect it to be competitive.
A lot of people won't fight somebody that they've sparred or had as a sparring partner. That's somebody that you avoid because they know you so well. So I mean, I give props to Jacobs for going for it. And I mean, if the guy was mandatory, hey, what are you going to do? That means he was good. He earned his spot.
Sure. I mean, Steve McCowan jumped on. He said he thinks he has a great chance to beat Charlo and Jacobs. And I actually think that's sort of what Danny Jacobs said at the end. So they asked Danny Jacobs in the post-fight, why was this so competitive? And what he said was he always expected it to be competitive, and he pointed to the fact that Triple G didn't want to take that fight.
Yeah.
Right? So Triple G dropped the belt and fought Vanes Matarosian instead of taking this fight. So he said you have to know that there's something about him that made Triple G not want to take that fight on short notice, is sort of what Danny Jacobs was saying. But I mean, he definitely looked good last night. He did have a glove touch knockdown in the first round. So Danny did land on him early, but he came back in the second round and landed some shots on Danny that seemed to do damage. So Danny, I think, tried to play it off at the end of the fight that they didn't hurt, but he definitely looked like he was on wobbly legs for a portion of that second round after taking a couple shots. But that was an interesting fight. And then the other belt, of course, last week, Demetrius Andrade fighting for the belt that was vacated by Billy Joe Saunders. He scored a first-round knockdown. Possibly could have been disqualified because he threw a late blow after his opponent's knee touched. But they decided to allow it to continue. He had, I think, a few other knockdowns in that fight before he ended up winning by decision. So now we have Demetrius Andrade, we have Danny Jacobs, and we have Canelo Alvarez holding the 160-pound belts. Charlo holding interim WBC belts right now. As he's essentially the number one. He holds the WBC silver belt. So a lot of good fights that could happen.
Yeah, and it just creates new opportunity and brings in some new faces and then gives them a shot to make a big name for themselves. Kind of like I guess Triple G's out of the way for now, right? Kind of out of the picture a little bit, which is good for people. I don't know that
he's out of the picture. He's just not a title holder.
Yeah, which is so strange. Which is so strange, though, because he had him for so long.
It is very strange, but what happens is all these guys with the belts are gonna want to fight the other guys with the belts, right?
Yeah,
so, like, if you're Danny Jacobs, it's better for you to fight one of, like, Canelo, for instance, a rematch with Triple G, especially when a lot of people thought you won the first one already, right? Yeah. It's I think more money and better for your career if you can get a win over Canelo at this point.
Oh yeah. Well, time for some new names to be paired up, So
yeah,
and I like Danny Jacobs. I think he's a really likable personality as far as the champion goes and somebody in boxing. He has the whole he beat cancer, right? We know that, and
yeah.
And then the way he fought Triple G, he fought him with a lot of guts. He did the best he could, which, like you said, some people thought he won. I didn't think he won, but I thought he fought really well. It was very close. I actually thought that fight was closer than the first Canelo Triple G fight.
It was. I agree.
So, but
I think he beat Canelo by a wider margin.
Yeah.
Even though it was a draw on the scorecards, he beat Canelo in that first fight by a wider margin than
Yeah.
the Danny Jacobs
Exactly.
fight. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm excited to see Danny Jacobs kind of get his recognition and his opportunities for big fights, and because the man really believes in himself. I mean, you got to if you're a boxer and especially a champion. But I mean, I'm really interested to see what he's going to do against those other big names.
Yeah, if it happens, for sure. I mean, both the Charlos are fighting on the same card in December.
Mm-hmm.
They're not quite in the name space yet. You know what I mean? They're still fighting guys who aren't familiar to the general boxing public.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to be a very active boxing fan or participant to understand what level these guys
Well,
are
sometimes
fighting.
I don't know who the hell's fighting until like they actually fight, you know, especially some of these championship fights. There's so many boxers and from different countries, and then it's like then they pull them up and you're like, who the hell's that guy? But
yeah. So real quick, thanks for jumping on, Steven. I'm gonna give a shout out to Steven because he said he appreciates the footwork videos, man. They train off of them. So
yeah, that's been my most popular one. I need to make more, man. I just been so
angles too, right? If you haven't checked out the angles video, that was another one, right?
Yeah.
Or was that the same one? Well, it depends. There's a couple.
I don't
fighting off the ropes.
Yeah,
a couple good ones out there.
Yeah, I've been itching to do one on doubling up shots.
Okay.
Especially when we went to the Mikey Garcia Easter fight.
Yeah.
I saw him. He did something really good off of his left hook. He'd throw a left hook and immediately throw a jab right off of it. And that's kind of considered doubling up your punch. And then also doubling to the body. So that might be my next video.
There's a couple power drills you've had me do before that are kind of
Really?
cool. Yeah, kind of unique.
It's been a long time
sitting
since
on
we trained
the
together.
sitting on the risers and then to throw the hook. I don't know if you remember that one. I'll have to show you.
Like sitting and then standing up, or sitting and getting
up? Not
up?
quite sitting, but having the risers basically at knee level, so that when I turn, I'm basically almost sitting on the risers and then standing up to turn the hook. I'll have to show you after this because I think it's a cool drill. I like doing it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good power drill.
Yeah, I've just got to get in here when nobody else is in here, and then start doing the videos.
Start doing the recording.
Yeah, it's tough when there's other people in here to kind of get
everybody
zoned
wants
in.
to be YouTube famous, you know,
or just get zoned in. You know,
I'm just messing around.
But awesome, thanks for watching.
Yeah, of course. So that's it at middleweight. We had a couple other fights last night. There were some World Boxing Super Series fights. So Regis Prograis won a unanimous decision in his World Boxing Super Series event. And Anthony, Can You Dig It Yiggit?
Oh,
That's an awesome name, by the way. I love that. Anthony, Can You Dig It Yiggit? Was fighting the Beast. He lost, though. Lost to the Beast in the 2 World Boxing Super Series. So those were both super lightweight events for World Boxing Super Series. I wanted to ask you about this, though. So it kind of works like on a ranking-based system. So where the highest-ranked fighter in the Super Series gets to pick his opponent, and then it kind of works down. So for Regis Prograis, who I believe was the highest-ranked fighter for super lightweight in the series, actually picked Terry Flanagan as his first fight for the quarterfinal. How do you think that impacts a fighter's psychology, knowing that you were picked by the number one guy as the first fight? Yeah, like you presumably you assume he picked you because he sees the biggest opportunity to take advantage of in that fight.
How did he lose?
It was a unanimous decision. I think he dropped him in the 8th, and then he won a unanimous decision. Lopsided.
It's definitely an insult, I think. But then it's got to motivate you. You know, anything you can grab as motivation for you to get in that ring, or just to push something extra out of you is always good for a fighter. But yeah, I mean, you never know because one punch could end it. So if the highest ranked fighter is calling you out, you know, because you're supposed to be the weakest out of the bunch, then you got to say, well, let me show you, you know, like, I mean, you got to prove it, you know, so I don't know. For me, it's motivation. It's just motivation.
It's kind of like one of those. It's like the opposite of being picked last in dodgeball or kickball or something. You know what I mean, right? Like, it's like who do you want to fight for the first round of the quarterfinal? Oh, I'm going to take.
It's like the opposite
Terry
of the
Flanagan.
same thing, though.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. I'm going to fight Terry Flanagan. That's the guy I want first.
No, but I mean,
it's kind of like
I said, at that level, I mean, for sure, there's fighters that will have advantages physically, mentally, skill-wise. But at that level, anything could happen. So I mean, you can pick on the weakest one, but it doesn't mean that things are going to work out. I mean, the way you think. It went to a decision. So I mean, what's that tell you? The guy could still scrap, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Steven made a good point here. He was saying that he didn't really put punches together in combination very well. Prograis didn't. He did drop him, but it was a lot of jabbing, more sort of technical boxing.
Yeah.
But he did end up with a unanimous decision, and then Yigit had an eye injury that was pretty gnarly.
No way. A cut or a poke?
I got to see if I can find a picture of it. I'll put it up for you, Coach.
Can you put it on our little screen there?
I can, yeah. Let me see if I can find it. But his was stopped because of an eye injury, and it was pretty gnarly.
Dude, I got poked in the eye one time in sparring. It hurt so bad. And I've been hitting the nose.
It wasn't a poke.
I've been hit so hard, but this eye poke, man, I was seeing triple, like for 10 minutes.
You're seeing triple?
Yeah.
All right, well, check this out. This will make you hurt just looking at it. Yeah, that's pretty gnarly, right?
That looks photoshopped.
Yeah, it's pretty good though, right? Oh man. So he was stopped as a result of the eye advisement of the doctor.
Who else had what's his name? Let's say Rockman.
Hasim Rahman?
Yeah, he had one like that too.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
There's been a handful of guys that had that.
It just looks so painful. Yeah, that looks so painful. That's like the old cut me Mick. You know what I mean?
You know, for
cut me Mick.
For me, it makes me scared. I can't imagine being in that position where your eye or you get so much swelling,
dude.
Because you're getting hit in the head. And there's a lot of factors going on. Your adrenaline's pumping, your blood's pumping, your heart's like pumping really fast, and then all of a sudden it just starts growing on your head, and you're thinking, could that turn into like a brain aneurysm or something?
Imagine being the corner and having to deal with that too.
I'd call the fight, dude.
Well, yeah, I mean eventually they did, but
yeah.
Something I thought was interesting about the DAZN card, the World Boxing Super Series card, they had Ray Flores both acting as like the commentator and the ring announcer.
Oh, sweet.
It was really weird. Like, so it was almost like their ring announcer called in sick or something, and so they had they had to go to Ray. So Ray Flores was like doing the commentary, and then he would jump up in the ring and announce the winner, and then he would jump back down and do the commentary. He was going back and forth.
That's pretty cool, actually. That's like when PBC put the referee cam, you know.
They tried it. Remember,
yeah.
I think Jack Reese had enough of it like halfway through the fight.
Yeah, he took
the headband off and threw it away.
Yeah.
Jack Reese wasn't having it.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. There were some other interesting things on the DAZN card, though. So Jeremy Hill. So if you look up this clip, Jeremy Hill was one of the fights on the undercard, and he went to do a glove touch with his opponent at the start of the fourth round. It was a 4-round fight, and at the start of the fourth round, his opponent put his hand up to do the glove touch. And Jeremy Hill did the glove touch, but then he pulled his hand down and put a straight right directly behind it. Directly behind it, like
right at the start of the
right at the start of the round.
Okay.
So like the bell rings, they're coming in the middle. His opponent put the glove out. Jeremy Hill touched gloves and then pulled his lead hand down and off the glove touch and put a straight right in behind it.
And he won the fight.
Well, yeah, he was already winning.
Okay.
But I mean, he didn't knock him out or anything. It was just it seemed like kind of I understand the protect yourself at all times, but it's kind of a classless move.
Yeah, and I'm kind of against when fans and just critics are okay with that. When they're like, well, protect yourself at all times. Yeah, I mean that are the rules, but it's within the context of like, I'm fighting, you're fighting. If we're like, hey, touch, cool, you know? Yeah. I mean, have some sportsmanship, for crying out loud. I just saw there's It was a kickboxer where I think the guy thought he heard the bell. He turned around and walked away, and then the guy came up to him from behind. I mean, the guy, you probably know which video I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do know which video you're talking about. I've seen that video.
Yeah, the guy totally turned his back, and the guy just comes up behind him and clocks him right in the ear and the eye.
Yeah.
Man, the guy looked so messed up when he hit the ground. Of course, he won the fight because the bell didn't ring.
Yeah.
But, hey, I mean, I wouldn't be happy winning like that.
Yeah.
That's cheating.
Yeah, it's
a mistake, but it's still cheating.
Yeah, it's hard. Like the reason why people are a little bit more lenient with it because it is, according to the rules, not an illegal punch, right? So what he did was not illegal, and it's the same thing with. I mean, well, in boxing you couldn't run up and punch somebody from behind, regardless. But it's one of those things where it's not legal. Like, and the announcer even commented that, for instance, if you watch Andrade Ward.
Yeah.
He said after the initial bell, like after the initial glove touch, if you watch Andrade Ward, whenever somebody sticks their hand out in a subsequent round to do a glove touch, he just nods to acknowledge them. He doesn't actually touch back. He just he just gives them the nod, like
smart.
Like good, right? Like cool, we're good.
Well, he ain't stupid, that's for sure.
But like, and they're kind of saying that's really the attitude that you have to take. You know, you guys touch gloves.
It's risky.
He's like, you guys touch gloves before the bell rings, and after that, there is no mandatory glove touches or anything like that. Yeah. So, like, it is according to the rules, but it is, to your point, a cheap shot.
Yeah, it's still a cheap shot.
It's still a cheap shot.
You know, in boxing, whatever you can get away with within the context of the rules, you know, and that's one of those things where, hey, if they're putting their glove up to touch, then, I mean, they're open. The bell rang. It's time to go to work.
Yeah.
Plus, the other thing, I've never been a big fan of like people touching gloves. Like, I'm here to do damage to you. You're here to do damage to me. I'm not here to be your best friend.
You don't need to touch gloves every single round.
Yeah, exactly. We'll touch gloves after, or we give a hug after we get a paycheck, you know.
Hug at the beginning of the 12th round. That's always kind of a weird one, too. When people hug at the start of the 12th round.
I think that it takes away from the action of the fight. What could be the action of the fight is it kind of drops down the intensity, you know, the tension. So I don't like that. And as far as, I mean, in the amateurs, we tell them, hey, don't touch gloves.
Yeah, exactly. Don't touch gloves.
Don't touch gloves. Like,
don't do it.
No, but you know what? Even in sparring, yeah, because sparring's practice. You're here to work. A lot of times another gym will come, and you know when they're coming to your home turf or you go to their home turf, it's a little iffy.
Some animosity.
Yeah,
somebody might take a
yeah. So like, you know, usually though it's respectful and you touch their gloves and it's a sign of mutual respect.
Yeah.
But then even in sparring, I've seen where guys have touched gloves and bam, I mean they'll touch with the same hand and throw a hook right after
and then get them right afterwards.
And I'm just like, I get so pissed. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? You know. Because, I mean, as a trainer, you want to protect your fighters all the time. So that's my perspective on it. It's, you know, I want them to win with some kind of honor, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying about Mayweather and always talking about the money. Well, at the end of the day, the fans are going to remember the great fights. They're not going to remember how much money you made. As a fighter, you're going to remember how much money you made.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know,
and you probably won't remember.
You can't pay your bills with the great fights.
Yeah, exactly. And as great of a sport as boxing is, you know, I have met and have seen a lot of pros, especially pros from the 70s and 80s, that put it all out there, you know, but they're damaged, you know. They're just not the same. They're just not the same person anymore, you know. So
from a lifetime of taking that kind of punishment on their body.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those types of things.
So. But I digress. Anyways, yeah, protect yourself at all times. Touching gloves, save it for after.
Yeah, and there's another interesting. So this bout right here, Fernando David Saucedo. So for one thing,
dude, what's his record?
62-8-3.
Wow.
At the time of he lost, so now he's 60, but pretty good record, huh?
That's
as coach would say. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But
it's from Mexico, probably.
Yeah, so he caught a late uppercut. So he went down and took a late uppercut in the round. Like he was way down on the knee, took a late uppercut. And after this happened, his corner stepped onto the ring apron, and the referee did not notice this. So the rest of the round progressed. They went back to their mutual corner, or their respective corners, and at the end of the round, the advisor came up to the referee and told him this corner needs to be disqualified because he stepped up on the ring apron while the action was pursuing. And so they disqualified him.
Isn't that akin to throwing in the towel, basically?
Yeah, I agree. Right. And but the fighters were very confused about if the action was going to continue and if someone who was being disqualified, because it looked to me like there was some question about the late uppercut still that happened. So his opponent is thinking, oh, am I getting disqualified for this late uppercut that happened? But no, really what's going on is he's being disqualified because his corner jumped onto the ring apron. His chief second jumped onto the ring apron.
That's funny.
And it was like a big commotion with everyone trying to figure it out. Neither of them seemed satisfied with it, including the victor, which I thought was interesting. He seemed really disappointed with winning by disqualification, most likely because he had already scored knockdowns and would have gone on to finish by KO instead of by TKO. But that was another instance where very peculiar finish to that one.
Yeah, there's it would seem like there's not a lot of rules, but that emotion gets you, and you see your fighter getting hurt.
Sure.
As a chief second or a corner, sometimes you just forget,
Yeah.
Like, hey, don't get on the apron. That's pretty much, you're calling it right there.
Yeah, I mean you saw the dude punch his trainer?
Yeah, well, I thought that was somebody else's trainer.
No, I think it was his trainer. Well, you know what? I only saw I saw the clip out of context, so I didn't see the actual fight or the card. I'm not even sure who the fighter is. So if you guys know what's up with this clip of the dude punching what I thought was his own trainer, that's got to be a trip, man. Well, that's some emotion right there.
Ever since Khabib jumped into the stands from UFC after the McGregor fight, all hell has broken loose in fighting sports.
I have the clip. I have the clip from Twitter here somewhere. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. But I was like, what is going on here? But it looks as if, and I'm not sure how he lost either. What I'd like to know is how did he lose the fight? Did he lose the fight like by decision? Or was this the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
So you're a horrible trainer.
Yeah, exactly.
You told me to duck.
Fight. I'll put it in the description so you guys can see it.
You told me to bob.
If you guys know who that fighter is or what card he was on, let me know because I'm curious. I'd like to look it up.
You can't put it on the little thing on our little screen there so they can kind of see it real quick?
Yeah, I can probably manage that. Here, let's see. Is it on there?
Yeah. It's a little to the right. You need to put it a little to the right.
I lost it.
You need to put it to the right a little more.
I lost it.
That's funny.
I can't see it. Here, let me see. Oh, yeah, you guys definitely can't see that.
Yeah, no.
Silence. That's us trying to figure out how to use this monitor up here. If you're... By the way, yeah, if you're listening to the podcast and you're like, what's going on here? It's us trying to figure out how to use the monitor.
It's like real newscasters though. They have the picture of whatever they're talking about on the side.
Yeah, but they're not using a monitor to do it. No,
there's somebody in the
they don't use a monitor facing away from them. They actually do it through the program.
Yeah, they got the technical room is doing it.
I could do that. I'll do that next time.
All right.
You want me to do that next time? I'll set it up. But anyways, man, have you ever had a fighter that frustrated with you, Coach, that he's gonna take a swing at you after the fight?
I've been super frustrated where I wanted to take a swing at my fighter, but no, I mean
swing at your fighter.
No, I mean I would never do that, and no, I mean I think yeah. I mean the fighter's gonna be disappointed if he loses. I mean there's only so much a trainer can do. I'm guessing that the trainer said something to him like, "Dude, you suck," or "What the hell." And then the fighter was like, "What the hell, man? You're not the one in here."
And then give him the shot.
Yeah, because there's
the trainer tries to give him a little slap back too.
Yeah, and he moved his head pretty good too, but
he did.
I can't fathom that. Like, I'm always proud of my guys, win or lose, and then they're the ones in the ring, So if they lose, it's the trainer's fault. If they win, good job, fighter. But I mean, if your guy loses, you have to accept responsibility as a trainer to yourself and to anybody else, and just say, yeah, well, I didn't train him good enough to win, and that's just the fact. But
yeah, I mean, sometimes as the corner, some of that stuff it's almost entirely out of your control. I mean, you can give the right instruction and stuff like that, but you can go through training the right way. But at the end of the day, it's a fighter versus a fighter, and they have to execute that game plan.
Sometimes everything goes out the window. With the fighter, especially given what circumstance he's under. If it's his first fight, if it's his first out of town fight, if it's his first major fight, if it's his first title fight, if there's a big crowd, all those things can just make them forget everything that you trained.
Sure. And there's also the whole idea of, what happens when things are not going according to plan. You know what I mean? There's very few fighters.
This is my favorite times in the fight.
There are very few fighters that seem to know how to handle that part of it. Like, you know what I mean? When it's not going exactly as you expect, then what? Right? And like, you could see sometimes people will go back to the corner, and I mean, Sergey's trainer, they're going back to the corner, and he's like, man, you've got to do this. You have to put this many punches. You have to throw these combinations. You have to throw more than one punch. But it doesn't seem to make a difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of times the fighter
that'll happen when the other guy is really good, and your guy is
when your guy is not as good as their guy.
Well, not just that. I mean, your guy can be really good, but pretty much when he's exhausted, like all of his skill set. I mean, he can come back in the corner, and when I see my guy and he's outmatched, and then I'm like, shit, what did I tell him? Sometimes I want to be
you get stuck.
Sometimes I want to be like, I don't know, man. Just go, just try, man. Just do something.
That's a really good question, man.
Yeah, there's nothing to tell him.
We should ask that
just try not to die.
We should ask that of all coaches. Exactly, right? Like when you see that your guy is just being outclassed, what is the instruction? Like, what do you do at that point?
Nah, you just go to your bag of what do you call it? Like cliches. You got a jab, 1-2, move your head. You just give
him the old 1-2.
Yeah, stick to your jab, move your head, stay on the outside, stuff like that.
So nothing that helps.
Yeah, because you can't game plan at that point, because like everything you've tried is not working. So you're like, crap, I told him to do this, I told him to do that, I told him to go to the body or throw this to the body, then come upstairs. If none of that works, then you go back to like basics. And I mean, from a coaching perspective, you just do that so you don't sound like an idiot, and then so your fighter doesn't lose confidence.
So that when your fighter comes back to the corner, you're not like, I don't know, man, this dude's good.
You're fucked, dude. Yeah,
let's call it.
Yeah, I mean,
throw in the towel.
There's been like, I could recall like maybe 2 times where I was like, man, I really don't know how we're gonna beat this guy. So what do I say? But it happens, man. I mean, there's some really good trainers and some really good boxers out there. I mean,
yeah, I'm sure.
And then the thing about boxing is nobody likes to tell you anything.
What do you mean?
Like nobody likes to share their secrets.
I see. Like if you were to talk to another trainer, he doesn't want to share with you how he does it.
Very little. Yeah, you don't like secrets or methods, training techniques, philosophies. They are amongst friends, but yeah, they're really not shared.
Yeah, because I know you've tried to pick a few people's brains, right? You come into contact with people and you're like, hey, what can you share with me?
Yeah, of course. And they'll tell you the same cliche stuff. Oh, you guys got to be in shape and this and that. But I mean, there's things like we were talking about Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia. Like, why would Mikey Garcia want to fight Errol Spence? Well, I was saying, you were saying he must see
something.
Exactly.
Yeah. He must see something.
And if he sees something, he's seeing it through the eyes of, what's that? His brother and then his grandfather, right? They have or was his dad?
His dad and his brother.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of experience, right? But you could throw the jab, you could hit the bag thousands of rounds, get lots of sparring. But if you haven't been exposed to breaking down boxing like that, then you're never gonna see that. You're never gonna know what you're looking for. So like I said, to me it's a black, not a black art, but kind of like a what do you call it? I don't know.
I'm not sure, but it's a well-kept secret amongst them.
Yeah, it's just like especially the little nuances, none of the best trainers tell you. They won't ever tell you. Yeah. Got to find out for yourself. That's why you got to break the code.
Yeah.
It's hard.
That's interesting. Did you I think with Garcia and Errol, like you said, you must, right? Like you must. He's not calling out every welterweight. He didn't pick any other welterweight champion. He picked Errol Spence.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like you're looking, he sees something, and it's probably him, like he's looking at it. Because you hear Robert and their dad saying in the media that they would rather he take other fights. They would rather he fight Lomachenko. They would rather he fight these. So it must be Mikey. Right?
Yeah.
Like it must be Mikey looks at it and goes, hey, I see a weakness or I see something.
He thinks he can exploit something.
That makes me think I can do well against him.
Yeah, it could just be the experience that he's had in the pros, the people that he's fought. I don't know. Or maybe just something he knows.
Yeah.
He's not going to tell us, though, until
after the fight. We'll find out. We'll find out what he knows.
Yeah.
At some point we'll find out what he knows.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, did you watch it was a rematch of Heather Hardy and...
Believe it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shelly Vincent?
Yeah.
Shelly Vincent and Heather Hardy?
How was that fight?
It was fantastic. It was a great fight. Yeah, so action-packed fight. I believe Heather Hardy clearly won. I think that it started off competitive, and then Heather Hardy found a home in kind of round 3, 4, 5, in subsequent rounds there, where she was just putting the same body shot on over and over. So really laying on this body shot. And she did that for a few rounds, and I think it slowed Shelly Vincent down enough that in the later rounds, she really was just able to use her distance really well. So Shelly Vincent would be coming in, she would catch some shots coming in, and then she would Heather Hardy would step around and keep the distance. But I think it was a really entertaining fight. I'm glad it's a fight that was on HBO. It was a title fight for a vacant title. And it's the type of fight that I think is fantastic as a televised fight for women's boxing.
Yeah.
It was a really good fight, like an entertaining fight.
Yeah, well, those two seem to have, I don't know if it was real or not, but they seem to have a lot of animosity between themselves. So
it seems like they have animosity, like a mutual respect for sure, but also a genuine dislike. Yeah, like they don't like each other, but they respect each other as competitors.
Yeah.
HBO was talking about some of the commonalities that they have in their respective backgrounds. They both had some real struggles and things like that. Both of them, HBO had commented, were rape victims. Both of them had financial challenges at certain points in their life. Heather Hardy at one point was homeless. She has a degree in forensic science, which I actually didn't know before that broadcast. Or forensic psychology. Sorry, it was forensic psychology. They said Heather Hardy has a degree in forensic psychology, but so they have some sort of common background. What seems like a genuine dislike, but it's kind of like the type of thing where you can envision that later on in life, when they're not competing with each other as fighters anymore, that they can, they might actually have a kinship of some kind. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, I like Heather Hardy always puts on a good show.
Great.
She always fights hard. I want to see her more on some big fights.
Yeah, I think that fight was great. And recently Katie Taylor fought, and that fight was great. So I think, seeing more and more of these really entertaining televised women's fights, I hope that we get to see more of it.
It's crazy because like 20 years ago there was women's boxing, but it was, I don't want to call it like a sideshow or anything like that, but it wasn't taken as seriously, and the skill set was so wide, I think, compared to where they are now. So many of the fighters are so good.
When I look at Heather Hardy and Michaela Mayer and Katie Taylor and Clarissa Shields, you look at a lot of these fighters, and they're just extremely talented as fighters. You know what I mean? They have a really solid foundation in boxing fundamentals. They have a high skill level that they can apply, and they make for very entertaining fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Hardy I think she fought in Bellator one time or twice, some MMA, and she got kicked in the nose so bad. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
I don't think I saw that.
Oh, man, it was brutal. It was brutal.
Really?
I'm not sure that she lost. I don't think she lost that fight, but I know she got kicked with, like, the shin right on the nose, broke her nose. I mean, it just, like, totally wrecked her face. But, man, she is tough.
Katie Taylor's last opponent.
Super tough.
Katie Taylor's last opponent
Heather Hardy's badass.
Has a sister who is big in MMA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I'm not as familiar with MMA as you are. So, like, let me look her up. You'll probably know the significance of her sister in MMA. So, Katie Taylor's last opponent. Let's see. I forget her name. There you go. Cindy Serrano. So her sister is apparently a big MMA star.
I don't know like her full record, but she's she's a pretty badass MMA fighter too.
Yeah, so they mentioned she was on the broadcast, sort of supporting her sister. So I didn't recall, but you keep up with that MMA stuff.
Yeah, this is crazy, man. You got actually the Serrano sister, she the other one that fights MMA, I think she started in boxing too. So she has a pretty extensive boxing record, and then she transitioned over to MMA. But this is awesome, man. I love that boxers do MMA. Yeah. And I love the fact that boxers can't have an MMA background and then transition over to MMA full time, and then be called out by a champion boxer, pull away from MMA, and then come back into boxing.
You like the crossover then?
Yeah, because then it's bringing all the fans over, And
but you don't want to see Khabib versus Mayweather.
No, because if Khabib had a boxing background, yeah, it's okay. Like I would love to see Cody Garbrandt or even T.J. Dillashaw fight, do pro boxing. Because T.J. Dillashaw would spar Lomachenko, and Cody Garbrandt was a Golden Glove champion. So I would love to see, but I don't want to see somebody that's never, had an organized boxing match. I'm pretty sure
he did wrestle bears, which I must count for something.
Yeah, but you're not wrestling. You're not wrestling at all in boxing.
I'm pretty sure that. Well, I'm just saying.
If he boxed a kangaroo,
he must get some points. Oh yeah, that's true.
If he boxed a kangaroo, then all right. He could wrestle bears and box kangaroos. Then you're good.
Then you can stick around.
Yeah.
Then it's all good. But no, I did watch that fight. That was good. There was actually another on that card. Machado had a first round knockout on the HBO card last night.
What's this? Mark DeLuca.
What's that?
Mark DeLuca.
Oh, this is the Demetrius Andrade
versus Walter Wright.
Yeah, Scott Quigg was on here too on Andrade's
Mark
card.
DeLuca, super welterweight.
Yeah.
What's his face? Rooster's dad told me they were supposed to fight that guy.
Oh, really?
A while ago, yeah. For that WBA, NABA, but I guess it never happened.
Well, Rooster is going to fight Soto Carras.
Are we going? I want to watch it on TV. That's a far drive.
I would love to go. I normally would go. It's on a Thursday, and I'm traveling. I'll be in Chicago actually on that Thursday.
Chicago.
So
take your bulletproof vest.
I'm hoping that I can even watch it on TV. Hopefully, or I'm not sure what time it airs, but I may be in the air as on my way home to LA. But yeah, so that's a good fight for Rooster though.
Yeah,
Soto Carras.
Well, we were at the last fight.
Yeah,
and that's where he kind of set the CompuBox records.
Yeah,
and of course it was exciting to watch it ringside, but then I watched it the next day on YouTube or the Facebook replay, and it was even more exciting to watch it on on TV.
Yeah,
so I'm excited to watch this, especially with the ESPN broadcast team or whoever they put up there, the broadcast team for ESPN. Man, because I think Rooster's he's gonna go crazy. I mean, Soto
Carras is somebody too. That's you know what I mean. Like it's really not to say that his previous opponents they were undefeated Golden Boy prospects, but Soto Carras is a made man, if you were right. So he's not an undefeated prospect. He's someone who's competed at a high level in the sport. So.
Yeah, well, Nico signed a multi-fight deal with Golden Boy, so
congratulations
we'll
to Nico.
see what the future holds. Remember after that last fight, they were telling us that they want to put him up against Munguia, and I could see it, man. I think he can beat Munguia. The only two questions, and I know Rooster's got a good chin, but how good of a chin? And then can Munguia create enough space, or does he even need enough space to land some of his bombs?
To land those big shots?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
hard to do when you're like leaned back over the top rope.
Yeah, so I think I think I've been saying it a million times, but I think Rooster can beat Munguia. I think he's gonna be a world champ. I think the kid's gonna be superstar.
I hope to be there. He's highly entertaining. I've said it on this show many times and on Facebook, but Nico Macias is good for boxing.
Oh, hell yeah.
He's good for the sport. You know what I mean? He's highly entertaining. He's not going to let you down in that respect. Yeah. Win, lose, or draw, I just don't get the impression that you'll ever see a boring version of one of his fights, right? Which I think is good for boxing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to go until that fire runs out, and he's got several good years ahead of him. He reminds me of Mancini. Do you ever watch Boom Boom Mancini fight?
Yeah, sure.
He's a little bit like that.
Sure.
Not with as much power, but still the same relentlessness.
Yeah. It's certainly an unfamiliar trait. Like, I think being that relentless, when you think of any comparisons, they all just seem to fall short. Like, you look at it and you're like, that's a next level. Like you said, the CompuBox records against, an undefeated Golden Boy prospect who's, up and coming, and you're throwing welterweight, record punches in consecutive rounds, like 3 rounds in a row. You're breaking your own record over and over. It's like, that's relentless.
Yeah. Did you also see, and kind of in relation to the fight that Rooster had, the main event was Ryan Garcia. He just picked up new trainers.
Eddie Reynoso.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's training with Eddie Reynoso, Canelo's trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's interesting because I believe that both you and I were saying he needs another trainer.
Yeah.
Right? He was trained, I think, by his dad previously, and it's just that he had a string of consecutive fights where it seemed to be apparent that there was something lacking in his performance. There were consecutive fights that I think were expected to be obviously wins for Ryan, that he actually struggled with, and as a result of that, I kind of looked back and said, I think it's time he gets another trainer, and I think that was some of the consensus that was going around. So in that respect, I think it's wise to go engage Eddie Reynoso or another trainer besides what he was going through before. So we'll see how it fits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if with his speed, I know he does have some power, but if he could pick up some of the same movements or combinations, or just the same awareness that Canelo has. Oh man.
Yeah. And you have to remember when Canelo first came on live TV, he was still green too.
Oh yeah, he was horrible.
You remember? Like I won't call him horrible, but like he definitely, his first showing on live TV in the United States, I think, was Jose Miguel Cotto.
Yeah.
He almost got knocked out in that
fight.
fight.
Got rocked.
Yeah, like early.
So
he almost got knocked out like in the first 2 rounds.
He had Bambi legs for a little bit.
So I think that, definitely you see Canelo mature from over that period of time. So Canelo hasn't been the same. He's continued to improve. And I think if Ryan can do that, then he'll have a successful career.
Well, at least the head movement. If Ryan could get some of that head movement, that's going to help him out.
It's funny because they posted something on Instagram of him practicing head movement.
Okay.
Yeah, where he basically threw the jab and then did a slip to one side.
It looked way off. Huh?
It looked so unnatural.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be
his
overly
timing
critical.
Was off
the timing was they looked like they were distinct moves.
Yeah.
Which is bad. What I mean by that is it was like throw the jab and then move the head and then throw.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And it's
timing was off.
It's got to be sort of one fluid motion, man.
Yeah, totally. Good eye, man.
Nobody's gonna wait for you to go. Okay, now move the head. By the time he moved the head, he would have already received the counter on that. Yeah. So I think that was one where I thought it looked peculiar, But really what it just looked like is someone who hadn't practiced it before.
Yeah.
And that's really the point, right? Is if you're at the level that Ryan's at and you haven't practiced that before, then it's time for a new trainer. You know what I mean? So I think it probably sounds like I'm being especially critical of his father, and I know his father is still part of their camp. I'm not. He's successful. Like he did a good job getting him where he is.
Yeah.
I think this step is just important for Ryan's development. That's all.
Yeah. Great job. And in the video, you see Ryan's dad with his arms crossed, like watching, like really very intently, you know. And
well, this will be good for him. See, like you were saying, people are hesitant to share sort of their knowledge and experience.
Stuff, yeah.
So Ryan's dad is actually going to get to develop as a trainer as well, because he's going to get to learn from Eddie Reynoso and his camp.
Yeah.
And he'll be able to take that back and
those are the rare opportunities.
Yeah.
That you can and will learn techniques and tricks from other trainers, but very like, you know, unless you're in that camp, unless it's your kid or something like that, nobody's going to tell you. But absolutely, good point. And
I think they'll both get really good learning opportunities from this.
Yeah, so. I mean, Henry is his name. He's a really good trainer, actually. I mean, because he trained Ryan. His younger brother's really good. He's got a couple other fighters. So, yeah, man, I mean, if he learns more, shit, watch out, man.
He's going to learn a lot, I think, from training with Ryan and Eddie Reynoso now, and he'll be able to take that back and make his other fighters great. So.
Yeah, but I made that comment on the video. I was like, his timing's way off on that uppercut.
Oh, that it is very off.
Because you see, like when the hips moving, then the punch comes out. It's like you said, it's got to be all together.
I think the biggest thing is they're clearly distinct movements. Like you can tell he's thinking in between. You know, okay, now the jab and then the head movement and then the rest of the combination, and it's like
But if he can, like marry that speed with some hip action, with making sure the power is at the end of the punch, I mean he's gonna be dangerous.
Yeah, and I think that you're seeing early on he's practicing the right things, right? So like you're looking at it and you're like, okay, head movement, yeah, that's good. Need to protect.
Can't go wrong with Canelo because his progression since the Mayweather fight.
Yeah,
is ridiculous.
Even watching the way he adapted to Triple G for that last fight compared to the first one, it wasn't a replay. Like you watch Marquez and Pacquiao in their first three fights, even most of that fourth fight looks like it's just a continuation.
All the other fights.
It's just a continuation, right? These guys are just going at it again. It's hard to judge the rounds.
Yeah, Pacquiao does the same thing all the time.
And Juanma doing the same thing. So when you look at him and he comes out and has a completely different game plan, totally changes, I think that shows sort of maturity and development in terms of training and game planning.
Yeah.
So, but no, definitely I did see that, and I saw the video on Instagram as well. So speaking of Pacquiao, you've been seeing all this Pacquiao
Is he fighting
stuff?
Broner?
I guess so.
Is Broner getting 100 million?
Oh yeah, the tweet about the 100 million. I highly
sure Broner
doubt
takes what he can get. Right now.
But here's the thing, there's a possibility they're going to try and put it on pay-per-view with Fox.
Yeah, I heard about that pay-per-view. I wouldn't pay for that.
No, I wouldn't either. I love boxing, and I wouldn't pay for that. Like, I paid to watch Floyd Mayweather fight a novice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like $100 I paid for that, but I would not pay to watch Broner fight Pacquiao.
No, I don't know. We'll see. The closer it gets to the fight, and then with all the, Broner's going to do what Broner does, which is talk nonsense, which it's hard to get in Pacquiao's head. I don't think anybody's ever gotten Pacquiao's head. He's just so calm about it. Broner's going to have to do something really stupid, but that would be really stupid of Broner, which is totally typical of him, to piss off Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Like disrespect his wife or say something about his family. Can you imagine? I mean, I know Pacquiao's older, but imagine a pissed off Manny Pacquiao against Broner. A pissed off Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think I say I wouldn't buy it, but the truth is, it depends on what cards sort of come with it.
Yeah, well, they might boost the undercard just so you buy it.
Yeah, exactly, right?
You have to. I mean, you might. We'll see. They might have like what do you call it? Like projections, and if the projections look weak, They're gonna have to boost the undercard.
Yeah, like if they have a good undercard, then I can be convinced to go in and do it. I mean, it's Al Heyman, so they have a lot of good fighters that they can make. So like maybe they do Keith Thurman's comeback fight. And, a fight with this, and so it's kind of like I guess they could put a card together that I would buy, but that fight by itself, definitely not.
Well, supposedly isn't that the tune-up fight for Pacquiao before Mayweather or something like that?
That originally is what it was, but I don't know. I think Floyd Mayweather's had some sound bites recently where he sounds like he doesn't really care about fighting Pacquiao or not fighting Pacquiao, and the truth is, even if he doesn't get a fight with Floyd Mayweather, PBC has all the other welterweights except for Bud Crawford, which is probably the one guy Pacquiao doesn't want to see. You know what I mean? So, like...
Well, Bud was saying the other day that he doesn't care if Pacquiao wants to fight him or not because Pacquiao can do whatever he wants. He earned the right to do whatever he wants.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, I mean, I thought that was kind of
cool.
a noble thing to say. And it's true. I mean, there's other young people to take on, and I'd hate to see Manny Pacquiao demolished. I don't know if he would be demolished by Bud Crawford,
but I actually think... Well, let's talk about that because if we look at the fighters who are in PBC's stable at welterweight, so Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Errol Spence, Adrian Broner, like he actually could do a good job against some of these guys. Like he might give Danny Garcia a handful. You know what I mean?
They'd be the biggest name that those guys have ever fought.
Yeah, like
maybe the best opponent.
Like I don't look at Danny Garcia as he also owns Keith Thurman. I say owns, but what I mean is that Keith Thurman is part of Al Heyman's stable. Keith Thurman's probably not an option just because he hasn't fought in so long.
Yeah, he's going to have to do a tune-up.
Yeah.
2 or 3.
Errol Spence is probably the most dangerous option amongst them. But if you look at someone like a Danny Garcia, he might take that fight.
Especially off his last 2 performances.
Yeah. Right? So
I said before, Pacquiao should fight Danny Garcia, beat him, and then fight Lomachenko after just for the money.
Yeah, I think,
or a big money fight.
I think he beats Broner. I don't see Broner winning that fight. Do you? Right? He beats Broner, right?
Yeah, I mean Broner hasn't shown anything as far as evolving as a boxer. He still does the same bad imitation of Mayweather defense.
I mean, yeah, I'll explain. The reason I think he beats Broner is because Broner has, based on looking at his past fights, he has a tendency to freeze in the face of combinations, right? So when someone throws combinations, Broner stands there and waits for your combination to be finished.
Like when Mikey was throwing 1-2 over and over?
Yeah, so it's like, and he kind of just keeps that defense up. He keeps that guard up and lets you finish. And so the way to beat Broner that you've seen in the past is people just throw a lot of punches and it freezes him. He doesn't really get off combinations and retaliation. And I think that's going to be a really big problem because Manny Pacquiao is going to get in and throw many punches at once with both hands and then get out, right? And I think that's going to be a big problem for Broner. So I actually don't see Adrian beating Manny.
No way. Well,
and I think Manny can go on and beat someone like Danny Garcia.
Manny fought Vargas, didn't he? Jesse Vargas?
Yes.
And he beat him, right?
Yes.
Pretty soundly?
Yes, he did beat him.
Yeah, and then Broner had to... I mean, you can't really judge boxing like that, like who beat who, and, it's all about matchups. But, Vargas and Broner was a tough match, right? It was a draw. So... I don't see how Broner's going to give Manny any trouble.
No, I think
he's seen too much.
Manny's combination punching, the fact that he's coming in and out and fighting with both hands, right, and then coming out at angles, it's just going to be a big problem. Broner really just likes to throw that one big counter.
He's going to stand there with his guard up and just get hit from every side.
Yeah, so I don't think Adrian can hang with Manny even at this age. I think Manny gives Garcia some real problems. Thurman's not really an option because he's been out too long. I think Errol Spence is a little bit more dangerous than Danny is for him.
That'd be a good fight for Danny because he could make decent amount of money. He could hurt Pacquiao if he lands that left hook.
Danny?
Yeah. That might, after this Broner fight, that might be the next one for Pacquiao.
I think that's sort of a safe, competitive, good fight to make for those two fighters. So Steven's asking, what about Pac versus Sean Porter? I kind of left Sean. I was talking about the other PBC fighters.
That, but man,
So how about
I don't
this?
know. A lot of tying up. I don't know if Porter could put his punches together. I think he's got a chance to beat Manny. I think he could do what what Jeff Horn did, but more I guess more effectively with cleaner punches, no headbutting.
My impression is that Sean Porter is a tougher fight for Manny than Danny Garcia is.
Yeah.
Because of the pure physicality of Sean Porter, the fact that he will throw a lot of sort of wild, unorthodox punches. He's not just standing there using movement and boxing footwork and things like that. And he could catch Manny. He could probably hurt Manny. So I think Sean Porter is tougher than Danny Garcia.
Absolutely.
I still think of the PBC fighters, Errol's probably the one to avoid if you're Manny Pacquiao. But I think Danny is best. Keith has just been out too long. So I think he takes Broner. I would actually favor Manny, I think, against Danny.
I don't favor him against Porter. It's too hard to
pick.
I think I'd say it's even. It's
exactly. I don't have a strong opinion over Manny and Porter, but I do think he has a good chance against Danny, and definitely he'll beat Broner.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know.
I think he'll beat Broner.
He'll freeze Broner.
He better.
He'll freeze him with the combinations. It'll be too hard. Broner, he just throws too few punches to beat someone like Manny.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, good question. But they're going to have to build out that card for the pay-per-view. I don't know, Steven, would you buy the pay-per-view without knowing the undercard? I'm going to ask Steven too. Would you buy that one? Because I wouldn't.
I saw that. They had that, and there was a couple other ones too, pay-per-views, and I was like, it was a post on Instagram, and they had 4 of them, and they're like, which one of these is the least important, or which one would you not buy?
Which one would you not buy?
And definitely
the Pacquiao Broner.
Yeah, because I think the is it Fury Wilder's pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, it's pay-per-view.
Yeah, there was that one. There was a couple other ones.
Why wouldn't
too.
You get that one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you gotta get that one.
I'm gonna try to sneak in.
Yeah.
Stables.
But
you bought your ticket, huh?
Yeah, I did. Here's the thing that's interesting. So listening to Eddie Hearn, it sounds as though the pay-per-view buys for this fight will seriously impact negotiations with Anthony Joshua. So, for instance, if this pay-per-view is able to sell 750, 800,000 buys, right, then they'll sort of entertain some of the offers and things that Deontay Wilder has made in terms of split percentage, wanting, 45%, 40%, those types of things. But if, however, the pay-per-view sells 300,000 buys, which is what Eddie Hearn is more confident it'll be in that neighborhood, then he actually wants to offer even less than they offered before. So he's kind of saying, if you only get 300,000 buys, then we don't even think you should get 30%. That would be generous, right?
He's got a point.
I kind of think you do too.
Yeah.
But 300,000 seems low to me. But Eddie Hearn seems, I'm not gonna. If he believes that it's only gonna do 300,000 or 250,000 buys, but 300,000 seem low to me.
Who the hell's promoting this? The Wilder Fury fight. It's under what promotional banner?
Well, they're under different promotional banners. So Deontay Wilder is with Al Heyman, so he's a PBC fighter. Tyson Fury is with Frank Warren.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Steven said he'd buy it. He said he's foolish about boxing. The HD one or regular? No. Do you pay the extra $10 for HD on that one?
If I don't,
do they even do that anymore?
If I don't, I regret it later.
Really?
Yeah.
Remember when it used to? I don't know if they still do that for pay-per-views.
I don't know.
Remember, it used to be like $69.95 for regular standard def and $79.95 for HD.
It's horrible when it's not in HD. I can't. I hate that. But I can't remember the last time I bought a pay-per-view because I was I had the Amazon Fire Stick and I was getting all the fights. So.
Yeah. So you're getting them all with your hacked Amazon Fire.
Yeah.
I don't think you're supposed to admit to that on TV on YouTube.
Nobody's watching. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, man. That was a cheap shot, Coach.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know. I'm just messing around.
No, I think the Fury Wilder fight's gonna do really well, and if not, it's a wasted opportunity from the promoter, and either promoter should really put a lot into that, because whoever wins could win the
Joshua sweepstakes.
Yeah, exactly. So, if it doesn't sell a lot, then that's the promoter's fault, because these two guys, the biggest heavyweights aside from the champion, right there.
Yeah. Tyson Fury had a media workout this week.
Mm-hmm.
He was on Joe Rogan. Did you watch any of that?
I'm going to watch it later. I caught bits of it. I saw the media workout where he's wearing just the tiniest shorts and a shirt.
Oh, yeah. He always wears colorful bike shorts looking things.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fighters do that stuff. Canelo does that all the time, too.
No, but Furies are like the smallest.
Miguel Cotto used to work out in underwear and on 24/7 HBO. But did you see he threw out Ellie Seckback?
Oh, no.
You didn't see that clip? Oh, yeah. If you guys check out ES Boxing News. But Ellie Seckback posted a clip. So he was at the media workout in the ring, and they were sort of going down the line introducing all of the media people and what publication they're with. And the guy who is organizing all of this says, "This is Ellie Seckback with ES Boxing News from YouTube." And Tyson immediately, realizes who it is. And he's like, "You can leave. You're out of here." And he kicked him out of the gym. And the Showtime guy was like, "Tyson, he's good to us." And he was like, "Nope, he's gone. He's a hater. I don't want him here."
Nice.
He called him a hater, and he kicked him out of the gym.
What man?
I don't know.
Ellie's got so many videos. It's hard.
You can't keep up with all that.
It's hard for me to be like, all right, okay, let me go look and see what he said about Tyson Fury.
I immediately try to think back, like, have I ever seen an ES Boxing News video where Ellie is like trash talking Tyson Fury? But apparently Tyson Fury has, or he thinks he has, because
I can believe that Tyson's watching everything on YouTube.
He immediately kicked him out. He was like, as soon as he realized who he was like, "This guy's a hater. He's out of here." And he kicked him out.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Seckback is flipping that into a video with a ton of views now.
He did. He already did. Yeah, like he made a live video out of it and did it. Yeah, he did a bunch. He had a response where he explained what was going on. He actually thanked him because he said he's making him famous. Because he kicked him out, now everybody's hitting up Ellie trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. That guy makes money off ES News, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. That's what happens.
Yeah, he does well, but
I'm pretty sure he lives at the Garcia's gym.
Yeah, you say that.
It's basically,
he's never been here, even though I asked him, "Hey, come by." But I don't got any famous fighters here.
You asked him to come by?
Yeah.
He said no.
We had Chocolatito here, and then a couple other. What is the guy's name? He fought Miguel Cotto before Miguel Cotto's retirement fight. The Japanese guy. Anyways. We had a couple famous guys here, but Ellie, he never responded. I guess I'm not famous enough. I don't own Goosen Boxing.
Joe Goosen or Dan Goosen.
Yeah,
Goosen Tudor.
Yeah. So.
But no, so
that's cool, man. I like it when these guys get called out, man. I'm not all into that fake media stuff, but I know media can be biased and.
Sure.
Even though you're not supposed to put your personal opinions and feelings, you're supposed to be a reporter. That's never how it happens. So
yeah, but if you're someone like, we're on YouTube, right? Obviously, I put my opinion into every fight. Every fight, I say I think this person's gonna win or lose. It's not because I like them or don't like them. I picked, for instance, Tyson Fury. I said I thought he would lose this fight, and the reason I said I thought he would lose, first of all, if it goes to decision, he wins. Meaning if they're able to get through the 12 rounds, then in all likelihood Tyson Fury will have won the fight.
Yeah.
If Deontay Wilder's chance is a knockout, and I think it's likely that he'll get it just by virtue of the fact that Tyson Fury fights with his hands down, right? And you have to avoid a serious punch for 12 rounds, which he has a really good movement. He has good movement, but he gets caught. He gets caught sometimes. You can watch even by these lesser fighters who he's fighting in his warm-ups and tune-ups. Every now and again, they'll just catch him with one over the top. And I think there's a difference between being caught by some cruiserweight and being caught by Deontay Wilder.
But you know what? The more Tyson Fury talks, man, the more you want to believe in him and believe him. He's really good at just making you believe the hype.
He gets really as a character, he's fantastic for boxing. Like, I think it's needed. It's needed to have a guy talk like that.
It's hard not to root for him, even though I like Wilder.
He gets really deep on Joe Rogan. If you guys haven't checked out the Joe Rogan interview, he basically talks about struggling with depression and bouts of depression and attempted suicides and where he was at upon winning the Klitschko fight mentally and everything he had to go through in order to get back right here. But one of the things he mentions, interestingly enough, how you say, I believe that Tyson is on YouTube watching all this stuff. Something that he mentions is that he sees an Instagram video of Deontay Wilder saying that he can tell based on the shape he's in that Tyson's done. He's never coming back. That fight will never happen. And that was one of the things that he saw that made him want to come back. Got him all pissed off.
He's like, I'll show you.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he kind of says, that's why I came back for Tyson Fury, for Deontay Wilder.
Here's a question, and I kind of believe it's true. Tyson Fury is a bigger character in boxing now than when he won the belt off of Klitschko. What do you think? Because of the controversy that he had, and now the fight that's coming up.
I think he is a bigger personality now than he was then.
Yeah. I mean, he won the belt, and people were like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. Like, they were more like, "Oh, Klitschko's old. Okay, whatever." But yeah, I feel like Tyson is a bigger character now. Man, I'd love for him to stay in boxing. I hope it's a good fight. Oh man, just seeing him on Rogan, even though I haven't watched the whole thing, I saw clips of it. And yeah, I mean, he's done some crazy stuff, but hey, it's hard not to root for the guy, because and then the other thing, I like Wilder because I am biased. I do want to see American champion, like, with all the belts, and I want to see the Joshua fight, but then I mean, he says kind of stupid stuff too, Wilder.
Yeah, he does.
Like, he wants to kill a man in the ring. I mean. What do you say? Yeah. He wants to catch a body or whatever. But I mean, and then Tyson's just like a fun-loving guy,
He's entertaining to watch for sure. The personality, the Gypsy King personality. Yeah. You know what I mean? Tyson Fury, actually, you see him in some interviews, and he's actually really collected and respectful. You know what I mean? So there's a lot, like when you watch him on Joe Rogan, I even watched an interview that he did with Max Kellerman, where him and Deontay Wilder were both sitting with Max Kellerman.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that was a good interview. They were both really respectful, both saying they were going to win and stuff like that. But the whole Gypsy King personality, when he comes out and is sort of on stage saying the things that he's saying, it's fantastic. It's funny. I enjoy watching it. It's one of the reasons why, even though when we started the show in February of this year, Tyson Fury was still technically suspended, was in retirement, had all kinds of pending lawsuits.
We've been on that long.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like, he had all these pending lawsuits and everything like that, but he somehow came up every episode, and it's because I find him highly entertaining. I think he's an entertaining dude.
Well, as far as like ranking and championship on personality, like Joshua's like way in the back. Like, these two guys, Wilder and Fury, those guys are the king of personality on the heavyweights. So they're going to put on a good show.
I'm sure Joshua is fine with them being the king of personality while he's the king of everything else.
Yeah,
he has all the belts, makes all the money. He's everyone's meal ticket. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
for sure.
I'm sure he doesn't care about them being the king of personality.
I wonder if that's, I mean, do these guys think that they have to do that that's kind of like a requirement when you're at that level, that you got to talk, you got to hype yourself up like that?
Some of it is certainly in this fight in particular. So between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, some of that is theatrics to build up the fight. And you know it just because of the way that they react as soon as they're not in the interview situation, right? Like, you see Deontay Wilder actually handed Tyson Fury his WBC belt so that Tyson Fury can parade around with it, and then they jawed at each other, and then as soon as the cameras cut away and they go to the aerial shot, they're like hugging each other and giving each other handshakes.
I think I saw them like sitting on a couch together before an interview.
Exactly.
It's
like, total theatrics, man. Yeah. Total theatrics.
But that's got to be a lot of fun because imagine how much license you have just to be like, I'm going to say the
to
craziest
say
shit
whatever.
ever. Yeah,
Because you guys are both on the same page.
Yeah, so that's got to be a lot of fun.
I'm sure it's fun for those guys. For sure.
Yeah.
But no, I think it'll be an interesting fight. But back to what I was saying, I had picked Tyson Fury to lose this fight, not as a personal thing. It's definitely my opinion. It's not meant in any negative way. I'm a big fan of Tyson Fury. I just think that it's likely that he'll be caught with some shots that will probably put him down and end the fight.
Well, he's looking in mighty good shape, though. In the workout video I saw,
comparatively,
he's looking a lot. It seems like he's looking better and better the closer we get to the fight. And comparing how he looked in previous fights or just when he started, because he looked like trash when he started, but he's slimmed down substantially. And I saw him doing some mitt work. He looks good on the mitts. He's moving really good. So
yeah,
we'll
he's got a lot of movement.
Yeah.
And if he can make it through the 12 rounds, I have no doubt he will win. No doubt.
Something tells me he might, after watching the media
workout
workout.
video?
Yeah, I'm like, man, he's moving really good. And that's got to be his game plan. Like, just move, avoid these windmills, and then, jab and get his shots off. And because we've said it, it's Wilder doesn't beat you on boxing. He cannot outbox you. He's got to catch you. That's how he wins.
I agree.
So after watching that, I think Fury's got a chance to outpoint him.
Yeah,
go into 12 and win it.
He definitely has a chance. And to be clear, it's not that Wilder can't outbox anybody, because a bunch of people may come on and say, "Hey, he outboxed Tavern," and he did. He won a decision before he knocked Tavern out. The first time he won a decision, and it was a clear decision win for him. He did outbox Tavern. It's not that he can't outbox anybody. He can't outbox some of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he wasn't outboxing Luis Ortiz despite what the scorecards said. He's not going to outbox Anthony Joshua. He's not going to outbox Tyson Fury. Like, he's not going to outbox those guys, for sure. But he could knock any one of them out. Like in Luis Ortiz's case, he knocked him out, right? And he could knock out Tyson Fury. He could certainly knock out Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua looked like he got hurt against Povetkin early. So I think definitely Deontay Wilder can put some hurt on Anthony Joshua. So,
man, it's gonna be tough, if Fury can get Wilder into trouble the way he was against Ortiz. That's such a bad spot to be in. I don't know how you can get out of a situation like that again. And I can imagine that Fury's like, let me keep boxing him and wait for the opportunity. Once I catch him, then jump on him. And I mean, I'm sure Ortiz hits hard. I don't know who hits harder, both the Fury and Ortiz.
probably Ortiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. Then in that case, and like Fury's just gonna have to box and move.
I kind of feel like in this respect, or for this fight, my expectation is that Fury has no intention of stopping Wilder. And what I mean by that is he's not going to go in there and look for knockouts of any kind. I think his plan is essentially to do the same thing that he did against Klitschko, which is, I'm going to touch you just enough, make sure you don't touch me, and I'm going to win all the rounds. You know what I mean? I'm going to win every round, and it doesn't matter if I knock you out or not, because I'm just going to win every round, And if he comes in with that mindset, he could do it. He could definitely do it. Like, he could sit there and stay on the end of his jab, do some head movement, hit some shots, and he could win.
That's a good point, but do you think that's enough to stop Wilder? I mean, if you're just touching him up, I can see Wilder being like, all right, I'll eat those all day.
Sure.
Let me get closer and closer.
Yeah, but it was enough to stop Klitschko. That's the thing. But
Klitschko didn't have the same type of he throws his jab cross, that's about it, a couple hooks, uppercuts.
He has that sort of halfway between a jab and a hook.
Yeah, and he's always on the outside. He's super cautious too. That's why that fight worked for Fury. He's more of a cautious fighter. But Wilder throws all caution to the windmill.
He does.
He
does. But I think, I don't think his game plan, Tyson Fury isn't game planning, how do we knock out Deontay Wilder?
Yeah.
Right? I think he's game planning, how do we just not get hit? Because if I can do that, right? If I can stay away from these shots, I'll be fine. Right? Which is probably true. Right? Like if he can't hit me with that shot, then then I'll make it through, and I'll certainly win. But you never know. That's the thing, is like the judges were going to give Deontay Wilder that fight with Ortiz one way or another, even though he was not winning.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's a risky, if that is his game plan, it's a risky game plan just by virtue of the fact that you never know what the judges are going to score. You know, man.
And in the States,
that's what I mean. You're coming to the U.S. fighting in L.A.
They've been ripped off plenty of times. So,
but we'll be there to check it out. I'm going.
Yeah,
I'm going.
Well, I'll get the pay-per-view or something. I'll get it on my Amazon.
Steven actually mentioned something here. So he said he also thought Atlas on Joe Rogan was great. We didn't actually talk about that when Teddy Atlas was on there.
A little bit.
I don't think we did on the show though, right?
Yeah, we did a little bit.
Did we?
A little bit, yeah.
Did we talk about when he was talking about Tyson? I think we didn't.
We talked about it off camera.
I think we talked about it off camera.
Yeah, he was saying how Tyson is weak-minded overall.
Yeah, he said essentially that he's in his mind he's 0-5 instead of like whatever. That if you've never been tested or been through adversity, you can't say you've been through a fight. So all the fights where he wasn't tested don't count, and all the fights where he was tested, he failed. That was like. I'm summarizing, but that's the gist of what Teddy Atlas was saying.
Some of those fights weren't that easy for Tyson, and he was getting hit in a lot of those fights too. So I just, they have a bad history together.
Definitely.
I think if you're from the perspective of Teddy Atlas, where you have some kind of grievance against Tyson for, I guess he hit on his niece or something, or
the gun pulling incident.
Yeah, I mean, for sure you're not. I mean, but Tyson's human, and so is Teddy Atlas. As far as being never being tested, well, being in boxing in general from the very beginning is a whole test.
Sure.
I mean, just to reach that level is a test of your will and your mental strength. Yeah, of course, there's going to be really difficult fights that you're not going to be able to get through, but that doesn't make him a weak individual or a weak-minded individual. Maybe his test for his mental strength was not in the ring, was something outside of the ring. I mean, we know, I think Tyson's daughter passed away. She died when she was like a child. Yeah. I mean, that's a test right there. I mean, that and look at where he's at now. He's kind of overcome drug abuse and anger issues and losing his child. That's a test. That to me tells me Tyson's mentally strong. As far as him boxing, I mean, dude, he destroyed a lot of people. He knocked them out fast. But there was some guys that he didn't knock out fast that were pushing him. There's definitely some good fights. I mean, look at like Frank Bruno, monstrous guy. Razor Ruddock, monstrous guy. Even the guy he won the championship, I can't remember what that guy's name was. James Quick Tillis. That guy was a good boxer. He was, all those guys were testing him. Just because we didn't see Tyson get knocked down, get back up, and win, doesn't mean he never got tested. Teddy's just being what is
There's
that?
some personal bias that's being incorporated.
He's just being he's just being salty about it, Yeah, I mean, in the same interview, Teddy was talking about how his mother was an alcoholic, and how she kind of gave into her alcoholism, but that she was a really strong woman. I mean,
a little hypocrisy you see in those
huge
statements,
hypocrisy.
I guess.
I think as human beings, for us to question somebody else's mental strength is that's not our job. That's between that individual and the man upstairs, or life in general, because like I said, maybe boxing wasn't Mike Tyson's mental test. It was something else outside of that, Sure. And for crying out loud, it's Mike Tyson. He's badass. I'm just a huge Tyson fan.
At the end of the day, he's Mike Tyson. That's true. Teddy does give it up for Mike in that respect. So when you watch the interview, he is saying that Mike Tyson is all these things. He's extremely powerful, extremely talented, all these things. He's kind of saying, along what you were saying, that he's just has a weak personality, I guess.
Well, we're all human, and Teddy said this about Oscar De La Hoya too when he predicted the Mayweather fight when Oscar fought Mayweather. He said, Mayweather's going to win. Why? Because Oscar never wins his big fights, and I mean. No, I mean he's just
he was right. He lost that fight.
Yeah, but I mean he's just a nine-time world champion or however many time world champion, but
he never wins his big fights.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, which fight was the big? They only get bigger and bigger and bigger. At some point you're not going to win them all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Teddy's fun, and he definitely knows his boxing. However, who's the last guy that he's trained from like beginning to end?
Yeah, I don't remember.
To me, for him to what do the kids say? To throw shade on Tyson, is kind of bullshit because we wouldn't know who Teddy Atlas was or is without Mike Tyson.
I think I kind of see both sides in the sense that I think Mike Tyson is a figure in boxing that's not unlike Michael Jordan in basketball, which is that the people who grew up watching Mike Tyson or grew up watching MJ.
Yeah, me.
Yeah. There's almost like there's nothing that you could say to change, they're defensive about it in some ways to a fault. And so Teddy, I think, actually is coming from a perspective where he's saying, hey, I know Mike, you know what I mean? And this is what his struggle is. And to some extent, even me, I will get criticized in some cases for saying that perhaps I think Mike Tyson, he's not the greatest heavyweight of all time in my opinion.
I don't think he's the greatest heavyweight
and I
either.
think that I said some of the same things in the sense, remember when we did the fantasy matchup between Ali and Tyson? One of the things I said is, how many Hall of Famers did Mike Tyson really beat? And at the end of the day, when he stepped on the biggest stage of his career, every time he lost, right? He lost to Lennox Lewis. He lost to Evander Holyfield. And these are the guys who are considered his contemporaries, the people who are considered at the elite level with him. So to some extent, I do agree that when he got there to that level, to the other people who are considered great, to the other great fighters in his division, he lost those times, a lot of time. So, I can see people saying that, and I also see that because I'm critical of Mike in that way, a lot of times people will be very defensive about it. And so I do see it, but at the same time, I also think that a lot of what you said makes sense about someone's personality, their character. He's gone through some horrendous things in his life that he's overcome to the extent that he's like a worldwide recognized figure at this point, had tremendous success as a fighter, right? So to question his, I guess the feebleness of his, or his mental state or whatever the case may be, he's disproved all that and then some is kind of the thought. So I think I feel like there could be merit to both sides.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, there's truth to kind of. Both sides of the story, but the shameful thing is that Lennox Lewis was supposed to fight Mike Tyson before he went to jail. Yeah, and they didn't. And I remember that fight. They were trying to put it together for like a year and a half to 2 years, and it never happened.
Yeah. Well, they also had promotional conflicts, right?
Yeah.
They had
King or something.
They had to overcome the kind of the same type of Mayweather Pacquiao challenge.
Yeah,
they had promotional conflicts.
So that Holyfield and Lewis, and not to say they got to fight a lesser Tyson or a less, lesser version of a non-peak Tyson, but they didn't get Tyson like at his height. I think because when he got out of jail, he didn't really. I think he had a couple good fights after that, but nothing hugely significant when he fought like Francois Botha. Yeah, he Botha. Fought Peter McNeely. He might have fought Bruno, I think, after jail. Yeah. But I would have loved to see those guys fight him before the jail.
Yeah, the challenge is, and again, I'm going to go back to this MJ comparison. See, the challenge is because those things aren't Lennox Lewis' fault. The fact that Mike Tyson was in jail is not Lennox Lewis' fault. And Mike Tyson doesn't get credit for things he didn't do while he was in jail.
No, you're right.
In the same way that it's not the Houston Rockets' fault that Michael Jordan decided to retire for 2 years. You don't give Michael credit for championships that he never won. You can't say that he won these things just because, because if he was there, if he was there, he would have won, right? But that's not what happened. So in some respects, it's like you can't give someone credit for things that they didn't do, and that is of their own accord. It has nothing to do with boxing, or it had to do with them. If they decided to step away from the sport, or in his case, he had to serve a jail sentence, that's not Lennox Lewis' fault.
And on that same respect, when you are there, when you do fight, you have to show up. Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield still had to win the fight.
Yeah, they still had to.
Against a Mike Tyson who was still trying to. Was still trying to rip their head off.
Yeah, that's a bad man.
And they came out on top. And they performed. I do. You know what? I don't consider Mike Tyson the greatest heavyweight of all time. That goes to Muhammad Ali. Because like you said, as far as contemporaries go, I mean, and Hall of Fame contemporaries, not just hey, I'm a great boxer right now, fighters. And these guys are other great boxers. No, these are some of the best heavyweights of all time.
Yeah,
and they would have done great in any era.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at like Ken Norton. He reminds me of Anthony Joshua a lot. Where's there a George Foreman, or a Frazier? I mean, that's like 4 or 5 Hall of Fame guys when Muhammad was fighting.
Sure. Even Sonny Liston is
exactly. So
so like all those dudes are up there.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I think his resume is certainly more impressive than that of Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of, I think on the show one time I even said that Mike Tyson, there was a number of guys that he didn't get a chance to go in with. Like Mike Tyson never fought Tommy Morrison. Mike Tyson never fought. George Foreman, Mike Tyson never fought, and I kind of went down this
Ray
list.
Mercer, I think, never fought.
Yeah, I got to, so for a lot of people, I took some criticism for that, I think. But at the same time, those dudes were like, I'm not saying he wouldn't beat those dudes. I think he would have beat those dudes, but they're not nothing. Like those guys, Tommy Morrison was a good fighter,
Tommy Morrison versus Mike Tyson.
That would be great. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't understand.
I think Tommy Morrison actually could have beat him.
Why am I taking criticism for that though? You know what I mean? Like okay, I get it. He's not. Yeah,
he's not God.
He's no. I mean, Tommy Morrison isn't. He's not like the guys you were just mentioning. He's not Joe Frazier and these guys. But that would have been a great fight. I would have loved to see it. George Foreman and Mike Tyson,
I don't know though. If you put Tommy Morrison back in with those guys back in the day, I'm pretty sure he would have done really well.
I think he would have done just as good as he did then, and he would do now just as good as he did in his because I look at him as a one-dimensional fighter.
Left hook.
Yeah, he had the left hook, and if he could land the left hook, he would win, and that's it. And that's true in any era, right? Like meaning if you got hit with Tommy Morrison's left hook now. You would lose, right?
Yeah.
And if you got hit with it back in the 70s, you would lose. So it's kind of like, sure, he's a one-dimensional fighter, but it would have been a good fight. And I didn't mean, that Tommy Morrison is among that group of individuals, but I'm just saying that Mike Tyson didn't fight.
They were
he didn't fight all those
dangerous,
guys.
Yeah.
He didn't fight all the
most dangerous available guys.
Yeah. Whereas Muhammad fought a lot of really dangerous men.
Yeah. No, and then to Teddy talking about Mike. I mean, you can pick Mike Tyson apart. I mean, if you really want to, as far as his resume and in the big fights, for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Part of Mike Tyson's story is kind of a fallen hero. He didn't reach the full potential, and I think Teddy's just pointing that out,
Yeah. So Steven's saying that Tyson's speed and power and movement gets him victories over Foreman, Frazier, Liston. What do you think? I think Tyson and Frazier is a pretty good fight.
Like twins.
Yeah, Tyson and Frazier is a pretty good fight.
I think he's faster than Frazier. He's got better lateral movement.
He has better movement for sure.
Yeah.
I would agree. Yes, but and it depends on what Frazier you're talking about, because for a lot of his career, Frazier really only had vision out of one eye.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He would fake eye tests. I saw this in I think it was like an ESPN documentary, but they would ask him to cover his eye, and he would cover it and read off the chart. And then when they would ask him to cover his other eye, he would use his other hand but cover the same eye. So he'd cover like this and then read off the chart again so that he could pass his medical exams.
Didn't the doctor catch on to that?
No. They said the doctor never caught on to it. So he was able to pass all of his medical things. So for a portion of his career, including one of the fights with Ali, he didn't even the Thrilla in Manila, he didn't even have vision in one eye.
What a beast.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a total monster.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wish we could we had a simulator and then could watch those fights.
Yeah.
Or could take these guys back in time and have them fight each other, but
yeah. But
Foreman, I don't think Mike Tyson could beat Foreman.
No? In his prime? Not do you mean Foreman? Well, because he had an opportunity. They were both fighting or competing at the same time.
Foreman prime.
Do you mean the older Foreman?
Yeah.
Foreman prime. Okay.
Yeah. I think he would have clobbered Mike. He's such a massive guy. You know.
Just the size, you think it is? That sort of
the
height?
And I think he would have got him with some uppercuts and just, George throws them and then Mike seems to be like right in that range where I know he's moving his head, but I kind of feel like Foreman will just keep throwing them clubbing uppercuts, just.
I'd like to describe Coach's motion to you, but I can't.
But didn't that look like how Foreman?
It did look accurate. It did look accurate for sure.
That's funny.
Oh man. Well, where are we at, Coach? What do you think?
What's really cool that Rogan has had on Teddy Atlas and Tyson Fury recently.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. I mean,
cool. They're good interviews. They're both good interviews.
Yeah, totally.
I recommend them.
Yeah.
But I think that every time he has a lot of times, like we mentioned the other week, he had Conor McGregor's coach on the day after the melee.
Well,
You know
what's cool? I almost wish he would have more boxing people, because there's really nobody that interviews boxers like for 2 hours, 3 hours, and really gets in their head, and Rogan talks to pretty much everybody about everything.
I mean, I do that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I mean, we can't get
Coach is getting the cheap shots in today.
No. But I mean, like, come on, we're not on the level of Joe Rogan.
Not. Tyson Fury doesn't come down here.
Yeah, we can't get like Tyson Fury
doesn't
or
come down here.
A Triple G or a Canelo. I mean, I don't know if Rogan can get
they
those
don't come
guys.
down here yet.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm working on it.
I mean, that would be great, but I mean, I just like see. I mean, hey, let's be honest.
Cool.
I think Rogan's got like over 1,000 podcasts under his belt.
Oh, dude, yeah.
So he's like
the dude is
He's really good. He's really good.
He's kind of like the podcast. I don't know what you call it, but sort of the pinnacle of the. It's what you aspire to be in terms of a podcast.
He gets the golden potty every year.
Yeah, is that a thing?
I just made it up.
You made that up, right?
The golden potty.
The potties. Oh man.
Oh yeah. Hey, we got to have something at the end of the year, right? We'll do it.
Let's do it.
Potty awards.
Let's do it. I actually started thinking about it. I started thinking about who I think I have so far, which obviously this could change, but so far I have some thoughts on knockout of the year, fight of the year. I'm not going to share them now because some of them will be controversial for sure. But yeah, when we get to the end of the year, we'll do it.
Sweet. I can get like a boxing glove and get some gold spray paint and.
We'll just spray paint it gold. But who gets it if we all disagree?
I don't.
We got to bring on some other people too.
Yeah.
I'll bring on some other people.
It'll just be honorary or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we should get we'll get 2 more people. We'll all put in votes.
There you go.
And then we could play them and try and make our case for why. See, that's the thing is I started picking ones and then I was like, I don't want to pick the same ones that everyone else would pick. So I'm trying to go a little bit different. So I think some of my picks will be controversial.
Dude, that could be really awesome. The kind of the year end review, especially you think about the different subject categories.
Yeah.
I mean, best female fight of the year, best female fighter, like best top 10 fighter or best up and coming prospect, best knockout, like you said, best round.
Best round is one that I haven't figured out yet. But I think like fighter, knockout, fight, all those things, I'm kind of like I know where it's at. We'll all pick the same. We'll all pick Steve Willis. Yeah,
yeah.
We'll all pick Steve Willis for best referee. So just because of the one clip of him during Sean Porter,
his eyeballs is popping out.
Exactly. We could throw that category out since we'll all pick the same guy.
It'll just be called the Steve Willis Award.
Yes, that's what we all have to pick somebody different. We'll just name the award after it, the Steve Willis Award.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff we can do with that. So.
Oh yeah, I think we should do it. We'll do it at the end of the year, whatever the last podcast of the year is.
Yeah, best broadcast team.
Yeah, well that's us, right?
Oh, we don't broadcast, we podcast.
The year's not over yet.
We're after the fact.
The year's not over yet.
Yeah.
We could still dabble in broadcasting by the end of the year.
I mean, we could even have like the worst stuff, like the worst
like the Razzie Awards,
worst stoppage or most premature stoppage, or
how they do the Razzies for the movies, they pick the bad movies.
Yeah, we'll have some Razzies.
Yeah, some Razzie Awards, the worst of all time.
Yeah, dope, man. Well, I'm looking forward to that one, but no, I don't got anything left.
All right, I think that's it for this week on Beat the Count. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next week with another episode.
Yeah. Hope you all enjoyed that. That was fun for me.
Yeah. They're always fun for us.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. See you next week.
Bye.
Peace.